The 5A is a vehicle that used to dominate World of Tanks, but lately it's just been power crept and it feels worse and worse every time you play it. And it's just been designated to this role of fading into obscurity. Wait, that doesn't make sense. The 5A has mobility, firepower, armor, anything you could want. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. A couple days ago, I went up to my friend Bagden, he's in a bunch of my videos, and I asked him, what do you think of the 5A? And he told me, I just can't get the armor to work. I can't use it. But that's when I knew I had to make this video, alright? Let me put you all in game real quick. The WZ-111-5A is truly one of the best tier 10s in the game. I am not exaggerating. My last video about the Concept 5 was more of a, this tank is actually pretty good, it's actually playable. Not this time. The 5A is one of the best tier 10s in the game. And by the end of this video, I will convince you of that. Not only will I convince you, but I will also show you my journey to trying to 3-mark this tank. And spoiler alert, we fucking did it, baby, yes sir! Alright, these are some pretty big claims I'm making, so let me back them up. And I'm going to go way more in depth in this video than I did in my last one, so it's going to be very long, because I also have so many good games to show you guys. Trust me, just stick around. Okay, I know everybody hates staring at spreadsheets, so I'm going to try to stay away from that as much as I can. So why do I say the 5A is one of the best tier 10 tanks? Well, it has everything. It has the firepower, it has the mobility, and believe it or not, it has good armor. You know, for some reason, there's some ridiculous notion that if you can't sit completely unmoving in front of the enemies, hold down, and not get penned, that it has terrible armor and you should never use it. It's stupid. Simply using your keyboard to play hold down and move back and forth so they can't hit your cupolas makes it so that you bounce, I'd say 80% of the shots coming in, and you can side scrape in this tank very effectively if you just don't show your pike nose, if you bait the shots into your side. Alright, so here I have the 5A up against its two closest competitors in my opinion, the 277 and the VZ with the good single shotgun. Don't get me started on it, I just 3-marked this tank. The single shotgun is the best gun, I promise. So when you compare it, the 277 is ever so slightly faster, but the speed doesn't really matter that much because of these ground resistances. It makes it very difficult to get up to your top speed, and that's something that's very, very noticeable on the VZ. As for the other differences, the 277 has worse DPM and better armor, when the VZ has, I'd say, better armor and the exact same DPM. As for speed, the VZ is slower. However, I think all around the VZ works better, except the VZ doesn't get 340 heat. These other two tanks, they get 340 heat. As you can see, 340, 340. The VZ gets 306 APCR, and that is a detriment to this tank. It is so difficult to pen an E100 who's hull down if you don't have 340 heat. So overall, I think the best quote-unquote one depends on your situation. In Clan Wars, it's the 277. In randoms, I think it's a toss-up between the VZ and the 5A. It depends on the situation that you're in, but they're all fantastic tanks, and they're all fighting for the position of 3rd best or 5th best tank. I will be getting into its strengths in the actual gameplay part of the video, but I want to put this here in the beginning so that you remember it. This is not a medium tank. It is the worst advice in the world when somebody says, oh, it's a 5A, play it like a medium tank. Do not. Because playing like that completely ignores some of the things that make this tank amazing. Yes, you have medium tank mobility, but that's kind of where the similarities end. You have heavy tank alpha damage, heavy tank turret armor, and heavy tank HP. To not play around those would be insane. And on top of that, you don't have nearly good enough dispersion or power to weight to play truly like a medium tank. So how should you play this tank? Well, you want to be mobile and on the front lines. But look, I'm getting ahead of myself. That will be in the gameplay part of the video. This is how I set it up. Alright, here you can see my equipment, ammo, and consumables. The ammo is very heavy on the gold because I find myself fighting a lot of heavy tanks in this tank. The important part here is the equipment. So I run experimental turbo, rammer, and bond stabs. Now, I want to preface this by saying you do not need bond equipment. That is absolutely because I wanted to mark it quicker. Stabs and rammer are very standard, so why do I run experimental turbo? Well, experimental turbo doesn't just do the job of turbo, but it also, right here, it decreases dispersion during movement and traverse, and that's very important on the 5A. This is the important part, okay? Terrain resistance right here, and power supply, whatever, it gives you top speed. That's what you need, okay? These two are the most important field mods, and quite honestly, they're the best field mods in the game, and they're for breakthrough heavy. Alright, let's get into some gameplay. Like I said, I have a lot of games to show you, so this is going to be a long section. I want you to remember that I'm showing these games in the order that they happened, so each one of them is bringing us closer to the 3 mark. This is between 85 and 95%. Oh, and before I forget, I post a bunch of polls on my post tab on my YouTube channel, so if you could go show those some love when they come out, it really helps me out. Thank you. Hey, so the video is done, so this is like post-editing, Leo. But in my last video about the concept, a lot of people had like really good points that I failed to mention, but I did have a way to dispute it about the concept. So if you have any points that I don't mention about the 5A, please leave them in the comments and I'll explain to you why I think it's good or bad. Alright, so this first game I have for you guys is honestly one of the most intense sequence of events I've had in this game in a very long time, so I'm excited. Now, I don't love Erlenberg. I came to this position because I can use my turret armor and my gun, but honestly, there isn't like a super good position on this map. Now, you can already see what I was talking about before. The enemy 5A decided to sit still in front of us, and he got punished for it. Alright, so the E100 moved up, and now I see that there's a little gap in where this 5A is poking, so I could use my mobility to push up. So I'm not exactly sure what happens here. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't mean to push this far. But honestly, this alpha damage means that I'm okay with trading in the beginning of the game anyway. So now I'm just waiting for the enemies to overpoke, and I'm able to poke them confidently because of the armor and the alpha damage that this tank has. So I'm trying to play around the C100, but he's really in the way when I notice that our Yag gets shot in the side, and that gives me a lot of information that I will need for later. You can see me here try to bait a shot. I eventually decide to just take it because then hopefully I'll get 2 shots in on him and our E100 will get a shot. Unfortunately, the E100 commits suicide. So I'm already turning around because I'm predicting that E5 from before or somebody else to be coming across the water. And wouldn't you know it, I'm right. This is where game sense comes into play. And now I see a gap, so I go for the damage. And that's something that this tank is really good at, is finding gaps and utilizing its strengths to go through those gaps. Little armor usage right here. What can I say? Sometimes your enemies are just really bad at the game. Here I get shot in the side, and if you look at the map, it's looking pretty dire for my situation here, but just stay tuned. So I start thinking here that it's been a little bit too quiet in the city, and you can see I start looking back just as the grill comes over. And that too, honestly, is just game sense. This tank has very good HE, and I'm going to use it against this grill. Now I know I reload, but I know it's also not going to kill, so I'm going to have to play out of my mind here. So I know at this angle he's going to struggle to pen my side even if he is loading gold, so I feel safe to poke just a little bit more. But here comes the entire enemy team to try to get me. A little last minute angling saves me from that guy as I reload gold. I know if I don't HE pen him, I'm going to have to use another shot and probably die, so I load HE. So at this point, I don't know how I'm going to deal with the 268 because I don't have much HP, but then that FV saved my ass. I just cut out 3 minutes of doing nothing, but I know it's defense, so if I just sit here, then we'll get the win. I know that that wasn't like the highest damage game, and there definitely are higher damage games in this video, but I think that game just really showcased how good at brawling this tank can be, and honestly, it was just really fun to play, really intense. Psst, you. Yes, you. I want you to go down to the comments right now and tell me what you're thinking, because it's my favorite part of YouTube is to read and reply to what you guys put in the comments. Also, leave a like so I know if I'm doing a good job, and subscribe for more. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Goodbye. Alrighty, game 2. This might look a little bit familiar because this is the background gameplay from the beginning of the video, but don't worry about that. Alright, Malinovka. This is actually a pretty good map for heavy tanks. I instantly go up the hill. I stopped to shoot some people, but all the shots missed, so we don't show that. So right off the bat, I'm getting super greedy and I'm over poking. And I know I shouldn't be poking like this, but also I want damage at the beginning of the game, man. What can I say? One of the massive strengths of the 5A is I know for a fact that I out-reload this IS-7. And you can do this with so many different tanks. 277s, 705As, even tanks that have less alpha damage than you, like IS-4s, you usually out-reload them. Alright, we're just doing some classic heavy tank shit. Avoid shots, get as much damage as you can. This isn't where the 5A comes into its own yet, though. No, you see it is here, now that we're hull down, is where the true farm begins. You know, a lot of people will tell you how this gun is troll, but the fully aimed dispersion of this gun isn't even bad. It's really just the moving dispersion that gets you. Hence why I have bond stabs and experimental turbo. Okay, so it's time to move up, and I know that I have the armor, HP, mobility, and the view range to actually do it for my team. HE trolling as usual. Then the HE redeems itself. And you know, normally I'd stray away from showing you all this cleanup, but I think this really goes to show just how good this tank is at cleaning up the damage at the end of the game. Alright, I admit, I lied to you. I actually got a blind shot in the beginning of the game, and I never told you. Get wrecked. Alright, so this game I want to show you because it's very, very interesting, and it's a position that I don't see very many people go to, but it's super strong when you're trying to 3-mark a tank. And yeah, you read that right, I'm literally driving across the middle on Karelia. So, why am I doing this? Well, you might not know, but spotting assist actually counts the exact same as damage when you're marking. And this spot gives you a lot of spotting assist. So if you have turret armor, you actually can be safe from all sides in this position. The north can shoot you, but you have this little mound making you hold down. So this shot blatantly disappears, and spoiler alert, there's a very unhappy Roomba right in front of him. And before you accuse me of having insane RNG, just look at the shell count go down. I'm cutting out all the missed shots. Anyway, so why do I love this position so much? Well, you have shots on both the north and south while proxy spotting the hill and getting a shit ton of spotting in both the north and south alone. It's so good for marking, and all you need to do is be fast and lucky. And you know, this tank is kind of just the perfect tank for this position. You will never see something like a 60 DP ever make it here, and you'll never see something like a Cax work this position as well as the 5A can. And there are so many cases like this where the 5A is just barely flexible enough to work it perfectly. Looking at the map, I see that I can easily move up and get side shots on this tortoise, and then probably rotate around to help the hill. Unfortunately, everybody ran far away, so no more damage for me. But you can see how this tank just completely won the game for my team. I mean, in the first few seconds of the game, I was able to light like half the enemy players and get 3,000 spotting assists. That's insane. So here's where I started to run into problems. I wanted this video to have two narratives, the commentary and then the road to the 3-mark. However, the games kind of mesh, and a lot of the games that I want to do commentary on are important to the 3-mark. That being said, this one's just here because it's really funny, and I need to show you what happened. Alright, so Prok, no Arty. You know I'm going middle. I'm not camping with no Arty. There's only 2 light tanks on both teams, and they're in the exact same location. Alright, I'm going to make this one quick because, like I said, I think it was just funny, but it was also a really good game, so I want to show you. I do want to just quickly say, you can see how I'm being very mobile and not just sitting in one part on the ridge. I'm moving around to see where I can get the most damage at any given time. That's right, we shot all of our shots and drew. That is truly an average Prok game. Now I want you to pay attention to the damage numbers so you can see how many of those blind shots we actually hit. 7k because of blinds isn't bad, but here's the crazy part. This isn't the only time that happened.
He missed too. Shot the ground next to it.
Oh fuck!
What?
2,000 blind. Watch this shot on the EBR.
And you know, of course I got shot from the hill the picosecond I got lit.
Oh, I HE penned the EBR. Alright, so I did hit the EBR. I hit him for 677 blind. Alright, everyone, I'm done patting myself on the back. So why did I show you those games? Well, I wanted to show you that even when your team sucks, even when it's a draw, and even when you get Prok, this tank is still very good at getting damage. And it's flexible enough to not just get you through these games, but help you thrive. Because let's be honest, right? You're not going to win every game, but you do want to get high damage every game. So one of the most difficult parts of making this video for me were picking out which games to show you, because I had so many games that I wanted to show. There were so many games where I was like, oh, this would be very good to showcase on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. And that's just the nature of this tank. It's so easy to get high damage games in a tank like this. And you know what? It's not even just this tank. I've 3-marked now every single one of these like fast breakthrough heavies, and each one of them is just so good in their own right. Anyway, so now we're at like 93.5%, right? And I have 3 more games to show you before we get to the 3 mark. So Steps is one of those maps where there's only really a few good positions that I like to go to. When you spawn from this side, I love going to this position that I'm in right now, because you get shots not only across on the TDs, but also on the heavies trying to cross into their positions. And a lot of the time you actually end up outlighting the light tanks because they get too aggressive. Now, I know this mouse looks like a paid actor, but I actually spoke to him after the game and he's just trying to do some blocking missions. Unfortunately for him, he really sucks at angling, so I actually helped him out. Alright, now looking at the map and the enemy's positions, I can see a gap, and that's something I said before, is this tank is phenomenal. This tank is quite good at pushing through gaps and punishing the enemies for leaving open space. And I mean, that's what this game is about, right? If you see an opening, you take space and then you punish them. And this is really what I was talking about before. If you play this tank like a medium tank, then you miss out on all this potential to open gaps and let yourself in. This tank absolutely can bait shots with its armor and then use its DPM to outtrade your enemy. And it really is just about using your game sense. Once that Conqueror backs around the rock, I know he's going to try to flank me, so I go punish him for it. So I move up a little bit, but I know I don't want to poke the other side because there's still a Foch-155 watching, so I just try to bait more shots. But then, looking at the score and the time remaining, I decide it's just worth it to start trading. And at this point, it's just about cleaning up for an easy 7k game. Which leads me perfectly into these last 2 games. Now you can see we're starting this game at 93.85%, so we're very close to that 95 mark. Now, I had originally planned on showing you my very first game on the new Airfield, but then this game happened and it completely blew it out of the water, so here we go. I've only played 2 games from this spawn now, but this position that I'm going to right here seems pretty good, and it feels good. So initially you'll get shots on these enemies coming in, and then later they'll come down towards that rock in front of me and you get to shoot them hull down. Unfortunately, I was fighting with WZ-111-5A, so I didn't get a shot and I actually got punished for it. And now that the enemies have moved up, it is simply a matter of farming. Enjoy. As you can see, when this tank gets to sit up in a position and stop an enemy push, it just shreds. Now I would like to note that a lot of that was knowing where they were going to poke next and like having the game sense to do it, but it's honestly not that difficult. Alright, so coming out of this cave, I no longer care about my health or my winning or anything like that. My only goal is to get as much damage as I can to hopefully 3-mark it this game. Alright, well 7.5 is a lot, but unfortunately not enough to 3-mark. We now need 0.23%. Alright, Mines Tier 8 game. This game has potential. Normally, I like to go sit down where that AMX is, but I don't have time right now. Nobody's pushing hill, so I have to take matters into my own hands. I always, and I mean always, get unlucky against these Pensiniks. Every single time. Now luckily for me, I have enough view range that I actually outlight everybody on the perch, and I get a ton of spotting assist for it. Man, I hate artillery. I see these enemies ready to cap out, which means I need to push up the hill and see what I can do. Well, I'm not seeing anyone, and looking at the map, nobody's gonna stop this cap, so I guess it's up to me. It's clear to me now that these enemies have no intention of stopping, so if I want to mark this game, I need to go. Unfortunately, it wasn't even that turn in the cap, so now I have to poke even farther to reset. Thankfully, the crisis is averted, and now we can get back to farming damage for the mark. But then, the E100 and WZ start pushing behind me. It's time to kite them around the building. Unfortunately, we die, but we did get 6k total, so now it's just a suspenseful waiting game to see what happens at the end of the battle. My microphone has been off for this entire recording session, but I need to see if I get it. Oof. Alright. Here's the... Yes! Oh, thank God. Oh, I know I would have tilted down. Oh my gosh. So in the end, we got the 3 mark, and honestly, I had a blast playing this tank. It's just so intuitive, and it's so strong when you do play it correctly. And honestly, that's why I get so sad when people call this a bad tank, because in my opinion, this is genuinely one of the top 10 tier 10 tanks in the game. Well, anyway, what do you think? Please tell me down below. Thank you for watching, and yeah, see you.